Make no mistake about it. Barring any findings or recommendations of the TRRC to the contrary, if former President Yahya Jammeh ever comes back to this country, he will face immediate arrest and charges of the most serious kind. He will be subjected to an accountability process like any ordinary accused person in this country. And no amount of irresponsible talk or political brinkmanship will prevent this from happening. As leaders, we cannot simply follow public opinion all the time. We have a responsibility to occasionally lead public opinion, especially when it comes to matters of justice and the rule of law. I have said previously that removing former President Jammeh from power, impossible as it seemed at times, may prove to be an easier task compared to the challenges that lie ahead of us as a nation. But we made a choice. We chose liberty over tyranny, democracy over dictatorship, and reconciliation over revenge. The road to sustainable peace and democracy in our country will be a long and bumpy ride, but we will not fail. With every falter and every stumble, for there shall be many along the way to that promised land of freedom and justice which we all dreamed about in December 2016. We shall lift ourselves up again and again, more determined than ever before to see that dream come true. Too many have died for this dream, and they too shall not have died in vain. And we continue to draw inspiration from the words of President Theodore Roosevelt, that, and I quote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who actually does strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of great achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat," unquote. So let me make this clear once again. The TRRC is only a fact-finding investigative process. But unlike other truth commissions elsewhere around the world, ours is the first of its kind with a mandate to identify for prosecution those who bear the greatest responsibility for the human rights violations and abuses. After a year of public hearings, and as we enter into the second and possibly final year of hearings, it can no longer be ruled out that crimes against humanity have been committed in the Gambia between July 1994 and January 2017 under former President Yahya Jammeh, and that those who will be identified by the TRRC will face certain prosecution in the most serious form. There will be accountability of the highest order for these crimes, and I assure the victims that it is now only a question of when and not if. Meanwhile, the government continues to demonstrate its commitment to the welfare of the victims by making an initial payment of $50 million confidence in these processes and ignore the pains and sufferings of the victims and their families. And let those who mock at or use threatening or abusive language against the victims be warned. Do not test the limits of our democratic tolerance or confuse our respect for the rule of law with weakness.